start talking, or they have banner blindness, they don't want to look at the advertising, they just look at what people read. If what they're reading is, a slight bit of marketing guff, then that'll work well.
So Creative has tried to sell blogs to advertisers. What's been the resistance point?
I think it seems too complicated. Blogs are actually quite simple. Especially, we tried it for Rugby World Cup and also for the Soccer World Cup. These are events that last 2-3 months, 1 to 2 months, and there's a huge fan base for them, and there's a lot of interesting content that can come out of that. So we tried to sell the idea of 2 or 3 roving reporters going around at the World Cup with an all-stage pass, everyday blogging with photos and interesting interviews and other articles about the World Cup. But it was seen as too complicated and potentially too much work, when in actual fact it's probably a lot easier than most sites to build.
In terms of reporting and measuring effectiveness, is that something that advertisers are asking about?
Yeah, with traditional blogs, with traditional established blogs, even blogs that get like 50,000 hits a day, there's still not that much research on who's visiting the sites compared to your 9MSNs and Yahoos, which have huge stats and huge reporting levels, whereas these blogs are usually run by 1 or 2 people, and they don't have the reporting level that most advertisers want. Even though they're highly targeted, they don't have the resources, or they don't have the time to find out who their market is. But
is there a cost benefit then to working with a blogger?
Yeah,
if they don't have that sort of data?
Yeah, I think it's highly targeted. So instead of reaching 100,000 people, and maybe 5,000 of those are interested in your product, you're reaching 10,000 people that are highly interested in your product, or service, or there's blogs about every topic you can think of: political blogs, link blogs, blogs about just digital cameras, blogs about the music industry, and using those blogs, these people are already interested in this kind of area. So
what does it cost typically to advertise on a blog?
Even some of the biggest blogs, you're looking at $2,000 at the most. On Gawker, it's $2,000 a month, and they're limited to maybe 5 to 10 advertisers. There's no way you can be on any of the larger portals for $2,000 a month. It's remarkably cheap, and because there's so few ads, and the ads are quite relevant to the market. You actually get quite good click-through rates, and it's quite effective.
Do you know what kind of click-through rates some of those sites are getting?
Even the small sites, it's typical 1 to 5%. So it's the normal click-through rates, but that's but it's in the awareness level as well. They build awareness by a large percentage.
What do you think we'll see happen to the blogs in the United States in the next 1 to 2 years?
I think marketers will see the value in blogs, and also blogs will become a lot more integral into companies. So Google started its own blog where they talk about, because Google's an interesting company, so they've got a blog where they talk about what's happening with Google. But I think a lot of companies can benefit by either attaching themselves to blogs with photo blogs. Every day people are posting photos that they take. If that blog happens to use a certain type of camera, a Canon Digital Rebel, that's going to help sell the camera a lot more than any traditional advertising can do. So people see, like, what camera do you use? And they go, oh, Canon 300D. Oh, wow, that's that takes amazing photos. I'll be able to take those amazing photos, if I use that camera as well. So I think photo blogs and blogs that mode blogs that use mobile phone, blogs by mobile phone cameras, they work. Lashing onto one of those or a couple of those popular ones can help build awareness.
Nokia have launched a live caching product or a blogging product. Do you think that's the beginning of the proliferation of blogs in Australia?
Yeah, I think even myself, I hate deleting photos off my hard drive. Even blurry ones, I keep them all. And that new phone, every message you send, every message you receive, every photo you send and receive, as soon as you plug it into your PC, it downloads it into a diary form. And I think that people like that. People are afraid to delete photos, or don't want to delete photos because they like memories. So if you can put that into an online diary form onto your PC, it's perfect. It organises it, does everything for you. And I think with Google's Gmail, 1 gigabyte worth of space, you'll never have to delete an email again, compared to the 5 megabyte space. So people like hoarding stuff. People like collecting. So in an online form, it's a lot easier than piling everything under your bed. You can keep everything on an online hard drive. It works well.
We've talked a little about the products that work in blogs and the products that don't work in terms of advertising and generating awareness. What are the do's and don'ts then when you're approaching an advertiser to advertise in a blog?
I think for the do's, have interesting content and engaging content, and for blogs it definitely has to be updated almost daily. One that worked really well for me was Spider-Man had their own blog from the production staff. So instead of having a traditional movie site, which they already had, they had the production staff or special effects people blogging about what certain shots they're setting up or what they just did that day. And you would go back to that every couple of days if you're interested in Spider-Man and what's happening. Tobey Maguire's hurt his foot. It's like your own little magazine online. Other do's are, don't have a hard sell. Don't force it down people's throat. People just, with interesting content, mention the product slightly, or don't even mention the product as long as it's somewhere there on the site. People respect that a lot more than trying to, sell them a TV every time they log on. And as for don'ts, the hard sell. Don't give a hard sell.
It sounds to me like it's something we're going to see a lot more of, but it really is brand advertising. You're really generating awareness and a positive perspective, positive experience with the product. What sort of products then are you looking at from the perspective of Soap Creative? You work a lot on movies to integrate blogs into a campaign. Yeah,
I think movies work really well because there's a life of a movie, and especially with now we just promoted Shrek 2, but the 6 months from the Shrek coming out in cinemas to Shrek coming out on DVD, there's a nice life there, and having a longer campaign allows you to build that audience organically rather than trying to cram it all into the 1 week of the promotion or 2 weeks of the promotion. Yeah, movies, events like the upcoming Athens Olympics would work well for a blog, whereas there's enough interesting content. It's already interesting by itself, but there's enough time to build that audience and build the awareness. So if Samsung or someone like that had a blog about the Athens Games, you would go to that site a lot more than you would a traditional news site.
I'd like to see if we have any questions from our audience that have come in, and we've got a couple. To run an effective social media campaign, what percentage of marketing campaign should be budgeted to social media?
I think like 10. I mean, 10. The more you put into it, the more effective it's going to be. But it's relatively cheap, so even if 10%, that's still a lot more effective than 50%.
10% of your online budget.
Yeah, or even 25% of online budget, but maybe 10% of the whole budget should be for social media, because doing a website, doing something online is useless if no one goes there. And have your banner campaign, but also have you need to support that with a word of mouth social media type campaign. Viral marketing is essentially social media. Without ICQ and without instant messaging and email, none of these viral campaigns would work, because that's the only way these viral campaigns get spread, which is through instant messaging, email, and online forums and blogs.
I actually have one more question. Do you think that there's a fear by Australian marketers of not wanting to be first, and also not wanting to damage the reputation of a product that they're working on by trying something out that's a little riskier?
I don't think it's probably scared of, because with social media, the user has feedback. So with traditional advertising, the user sees the ad and that's it. But with social media, people can post negative comments as well. So there's a fear that bad word of mouth will spread and the product won't work at all. The reluctance is more in that there hasn't been any huge case study that's been hugely successful for us to go, well, if they did it, let's copy it. BMW Films was highly successful, everyone copies that, but there hasn't been anything hugely successful with blogs as of yet that people can latch on and say, well, if they did it well, we can copy that idea and continue it on.
Which is really a paradigm that Australian marketers like to work off, is if it's worked for someone else, then it'll work for me.
Yeah.
Ashley, I want to thank you very much
thanks
for coming in today. I think we've learned a lot about the effects of social media.